Hey YouTube, Let's talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And today I want to talk about why I still play Zephyr Divine Strike even after 9 Branches comes out in the TCG. So, after posting my 6 Negates combo, I got a comment on the Reddit post I made for the video from user RNGTan. His comment read, "Is there any reason why we don't just search 2 branches instead? You could leave the field with any Yang Zing but Bien or Suwani, activate branches, pop and float to Suwani, either activate the second branches, pop float to Bien and make Herald, or make a second Origin and grab Path for the following turn. It appears to be more flexible and less bricky." I agree, it's completely less bricky. Playing Zephyr Divine Strike is ultimately a dead card whenever you draw it into your hand, but there is definitely a reason why I don't search 2 branches. So to take a look at that, we're going to look at each of the respective cards. Starting off with 9 Branches of the Yang Zing. So if we look at 9 Branches of the Yang Zing, we can see that it's a counter trap just like Zephyr Divine Strike, so let's look at what it actually does. 9 Branches of the Yang Zing reads, when a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated while you control a Yang Zing card, negate the activation, and if you do, shuffle that card into the deck, then destroy one other Yang Zing card you control. So if we take a look, the cost is obviously having a Yang Zing card on field. This can be one of 3 things. This can be one of your Yang Zings in a pendulum scale, or a Yang Zing that gets no effect off of being destroyed. It can be a Yang Zing creation or any continuous Yang Zing card that you might play. Or it could be a poppable effect Yang Zing. Now, out of these 3 options, the most optimal is having a poppable Yang Zing on board, preferably with Chi-Wen in the graveyard. The thing about having a poppable Yang Zing with Chi-Wen in the graveyard is it means you can either float into a Bien and Chi-Wen or a Suwani and Chi-Wen and synchro for either Herald of the Arclight or Denglong, Origin of the Yang Zing. The thing about floating into Herald of Arclight is it lets your negates turn into other negates. While this negate is in a counter trap, most of the time when you're going first, on your opponent's turn, when they're going second, they're not going to have any counter traps set up or anything that you are unable to chain to. The downside to 9 Branches of the Yang Zing are as follows. If you have a Yang Zing card on field that doesn't get any effect or benefit you from being destroyed, then ultimately you are minusing 2 by playing the card and by popping the card that is the other Yang Zing that you control. While popping a Yang Zing creation can sometimes be a very optimal play, especially if you depend on pendulum summoning next turn, sometimes popping your only Zephyrinu, your only line of defense in a lot of the cases, can sometimes be really risky because it's going to leave you wide open, especially if you brick. Now this cost can actually be avoided in some ways. If you negate an effect that banishes the card that your opponent is activating, whether it's from graveyard or from field, you will not be able to shuffle that card into the deck because it is banished from the game. Therefore, you will not have to pay the cost of destroying one other Yang Zing card you control. A lot of the time, you will not be able to pull this off though. Resolving 9 Branches of the Yang Zing while your opponent is banishing a card from their graveyard is only relevant against Phantom Knights and Kaiju Interrupting Slumber. Both of these cards are very niche archetypes, and with BA likely getting hit before this set even comes out, it will be very unlikely that you're ever going to resolve this card without paying its cost. The other downside to this card is if you're resolving it on a chain link 3 or higher, your Yang Zing will not get its destruction effect. Because all of the floating Yang Zings have the card text that reads, when this card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Yang Zing monster from your deck and blank position except blank of the Yang Zing. On a chain link 3 or higher, being sent to graveyard has already happened because the next chain has already resolved after you completed the action that you wanted to complete. Therefore, you will not be able to trigger this destruction effect. Now let's take a little bit of a look at Zephyr Divine Strike. So, Zephyr Divine Strike is also a counter trap card. It reads, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, banish 1 face-up Zephyr monster in your extra deck, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So, The cost of Zephyr Divine Strike is banishing a face-up Zephyr monster in your extra deck. The Zephyrs that you play in this build are Zephyr and Zephyraxi. A lot of times, when I play this card, I'll either be banishing a Zephyraxi or a Zephyr, but preferably a Zephyraxi. In the 6 negates combo, you don't necessarily have an option to get Zephyraxi, but the Zephyr in your extra deck will function just as well. The nice thing about this cost is it doesn't affect your current game state on the field, and oftentimes you will not be set back by the banish effect as cost. This counter trap is very, very versatile, because while it's a little bit more difficult to manage poppable Yang Zings on field with destruction effects, managing cards in your extra deck, like Zephyr is a lot easier. Oftentimes, you'll only need one Zephyr on field to go off, and with the 6 negates combo, you only have to pendulum summon the second one just so you can activate Baxia's effect to pop it in order to summon a Jiaotu. From then on, you will be able to manage Zephyrs in your extra deck at all times. While it is possible to go off even more if you are able to pendulum summon 2 Zephyr, it's just as easy to keep going off just because you already have such an established board. Therefore, I believe the second Zephyr is not necessary. Now, as far as this card being a brick, in the deck, if you were playing 40 cards, it would be a brick. It's still a brick in my 50 card variant, but the thing about my 50 card variant is that it increases the ratio of Yangzing cards and Metal Foe cards so that the brick to nuts ratio as far as which card is which remains relatively the same. A 10:9 ratio being that every 19 hands you will receive 10 nuts hands and 9 non-nuts hands. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the non-nuts hands are bad hands, it just means you will not be able to go off for your full potential. It's for all these reasons mentioned above that I believe Zephyr Divine Strike should be played at 1. Again, you don't want to play it at 3 just because it is a brick card. You can't dish it for Jiaotu's effect, and it has no place being in your opening hand, being as you want to search it. So playing one of it will be optimal, because having one negate that you can play at any time and is virtually costless, especially if you're going the Zephyraxi route, is going to be really, really good in this deck, and is going to make it a little bit easier on you so that you don't have to make harder decisions in order to conserve resources for your 9 branches of the Yang Zings. So, did you like that glorified PowerPoint presentation, I guess? If so, go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know you did. If you weren't a huge fan of the new editing technique, also let me know. If you have any questions at all about what I said in this video, since even though I edited my voice, I'm still a little bit unclear on some things, you can go ahead and ask that too. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe. I won't stop you. There's nothing I can do about it. Thanks for watching.